I plead not guilty. I didn't ask to be or not to be. A man lies with a woman, unfathered before I was born. Like a slave who doesn't own a father's name. In my mother's womb I listened, but I didn't hear his voice or sense his presence. You see, I was sentenced 9 months to a home that no man cared for. Evicted, prematurely, desperate, and in need, duty was my deliverer. And yet through the glass, the faces of fathers pressed and pushed as if to rescue me from my untouched air of newborn life. But he's not there. First ride home in a smoke-filled cab, I began my search for him. Ignored by the driver, he asked my mom for the address. So I turned to stare at her face to catch a glimpse of hope. In shame, she hung her head and replied, "Take us to one single parent lane." Mom never understood why I cried so much. I kept her up through the night. They told her it was colic. No, emptiness like a black hole in my heart. Longing, hungry, thirsty for my father's love. Another adopted me. That father's name was poverty. No disrespect, Mom did the best that she could. Sometimes she went on welfare. Other times she went on warfare, fighting hard to find a job, to find a home, to find herself. Excuse me. Do you have change for a food stamp? Time is what no one had for me. You see, Mom didn't even have time for herself. She was forced to work his job. Food on our table, clothes on our backs, shoes on our feet, and still be a mom. An employee, a recovering street addict, and even a dad. What was he trying to be? Did he care about me, or was he just a donor? Were my first steps taken toward him? I didn't know if he lived next door or 1,000 miles away. A tree falling in an empty forest was my first word. Daddy? Blind to her boyfriend's anger that her life was mine, she took me there to arrest the threat of mumps, measles, rubella. They saw the bruises. They will heal and anger will get out of jail one day, but it cost us a foster separation. Listen, I never told her about the secrets shared with family and friends. She trusted unspeakable acts of betrayal and every type of abuse. She had no time to sort through the truth, nor the courage to believe and act on what her heart was screaming. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Will you be my daddy? He was my one-eyed babysitter, and we spent endless hours watching each other, and yet the fantasy world of television couldn't touch my real-life needs. Will you be my daddy? He belonged to a kid at Head Start, and when he told me I was a fine boy, that made me feel good. But when he told me he belonged to someone else, that turned my already broken heart into 2 stone pieces. In elementary school, I made fun of those who had fathers. I didn't care. I said it was weak. He had a father, and he called me a bastard. I didn't know what that meant, but I know I made him bleed. A bastard sitting in the principal's office, so angry that an invisible man could do so much damage. In middle school, I began asking questions like, what's wrong with me? Was it my fault he left? Why does it hurt so much? Would life be easier to live without life? You see, I once made good grades that I thought would make him proud that I was his child, only to remain abandoned and unclaimed. In high school, I thought I found something to bring him back. trophies, but they only dimmed in the shadow of his empty seat. The crowd cheering loudly until their voice became a whisper, hollow echoes of a father's praise that should have welcomed me into manhood, continued in my rage. Caged in silence, I needed someone to break my sound barrier. Dad, I need to hear from you. Tell me you love me. Tell me you're proud of me. Tell me I'm a man. Tell me. In pain, I found the need to increase the dosage of life sedatives. Dying before her death, Mom said, forget him. It doesn't matter. But I searched for comfort in the arms of any stranger to massage the ache of not knowing who, not knowing why, not knowing him. So rehearsed in my mind over my life, unmet needs, they turned to hurt, which turned to anger, which turned to a bitterness, and then to a hardness. No plea for mercy could penetrate my own justice. Take what I need. The world owes me. Let the world feel my pain. It's too late now. In the blink of my eye, my life swallowed whole by a prison all its own, and in the cold darkness, I received word of my mom's death, and my soul begins to bleed, while what's left of light and hope slowly drains into hopelessness. And then all inward questions turn outward. Why couldn't you have been a man and stayed? Why couldn't you have been the father and just let me be your child? It's my turn, like father, like son. I lie with a woman and prepared to leave my child to get my life together, although that time will never come. To my child, I expect him to have it easy, and yet I never did. So I walk away and give him what I never wanted, a life sentence without the possibility of a father.